Hi, welcome to Reiki Rocks and Reflections. This is a place where I share all things crystal healing and Reiki healing to bring illumination, perspective, and alignment to our everyday life. Today is no different. We do have a very special guest today, and I'm so excited that she accepted my invitation to come here today and speak with us and share our space. We have Maritza Shafer with us today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
Just a
you
little
so
bit.
much. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited
Yes.
to have this time with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited. Just a little bit about you before we start delving in. Maritza is the founder of Bruja School and creator of Liberation Magic Method. This is a practical system for transformation. Her work starts where most self-help and spirituality stop, with the missing skills for real change. Raised in Chile in a family of witches and initiated into Brujería by her grandmother, Maritza learned to work with power, energy, and truth as elements as an integrated system. Liberation Magic teaches how to make your life the most powerful spell you ever cast. Welcome, Maritza. Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today. So excited to just learn more about you and just talk more. Of course, we're going to talk about your school and Liberation Magic, of course, but just a little bit about your background is just so enchanting to me. Your childhood seems so rich with you growing up in Chile with a family of witches. You're a grandma's baby. I'm a grandma's baby. And so I would love to hear more about if you had any stories about growing up in Chile in that community, just to paint like a picture for us because it just seems so enchanting to me.
Oh my God, Lani, that is so funny because, of course, every single one of us thinks that we are the most normal person on the planet.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
it's all relative. And for
Yes.
me, it wasn't really until I moved to the US when I was 18 years old that I fully understood that magic is not a thing everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was so mind-boggling to me because
Hmm.
that's like saying like water is not a
Right.
thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Like air is not a
Yeah.
thing everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you all do it? Like it was just so confusing to me. And so of course, my experience is, everything was normal. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that normal is the right word, but it's like what you know, right?
Right. Right.
And so, what's peculiar about my upbringing experience is a couple of things. One is that I grew up during a dictatorship.
Mhm.
So, that really paints a
Yeah.
picture in terms of the kind of environment that everything is happening against.
Yeah.
Too different from what we're going through right now.
Right.
Um, so I'm like, really, not again. And also, Chile is predominantly a Catholic country, but Catholic, I was going to say Catholic in quotes, that's not fair. Catholic and
Hmm.
other kinds of, not necessarily religions, but traditions, influence from indigenous communities, and a lot of sort of what could be called superstition or like
Hmm.
folk tradition
Yeah.
and straight up brujeria, which is, I think, has a different, the word brujeria literally means witchcraft, but I don't think it has the same connotation in English
Hmm.
than it does in Spanish.
Yeah.
In fact, just last week, I looked this up, and in Wikipedia, it
Uh-huh.
says something about witchcraft being basically like it has a negative connotation, like somebody
Hmm.
who wants to harm you or does something
Hmm.
like that. And I was like, oh, no wonder people are so freaked out when I tell them about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I knew, right? There's the Halloween witches, and it has like
Right.
this weird connotation, but that's totally not what it's actually about. And I have
Hmm.
a whole theory about why it's misunderstood and misrepresented, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, my experience growing up was basically that the idea that we have a lot of agency and power in the reality that I'm sorry, in the reality that we create around us was
Hmm.
a given, right? and that there's many unseen forces that have an impact on our lives, was also a given, and that apparently not everybody is well versed in how to work with energy or be in relationship with other forces that are part of nature that maybe are not fully explained by science yet, and that we have aspects of ourselves that we can work with and bring into balance, right? Like we all have a
Right.
body, and that's pretty hard to deny, but
Yeah.
to understand that we have a mind and we have an emotional life, a heart, and then some mysterious thing that whether you believe in a God or not is not so relevant, but there's something else that animates us, right? That
Mm-hmm.
actually it's like the breath of life into us that allow us to be here. And that could be soul, spirit, energy,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, but all of those things are parts of who we are as unique individuals. And if we are not fully aware of all of those aspects of ourselves,
Yeah.
and we know how to relate to all of them and how to make
Yeah.
all of our parts be getting along, if you will,
Yeah.
that is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
And again, when I moved to the US, I was only 18 years old. And very quickly, I realized that this was not a well-known fact for many people. And
Yeah.
many stories from there, how I ended
Yeah.
up teaching it is because, like, oh, you all literally don't know this. Okay, well, it's not that hard.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. We're going to get into that about the whole perception of
Yeah.
magic and um, what that means for a lot of people. I really want to talk about that. And thank you for painting a picture of what, like a snapshot of what it was growing up in Chile. And we talked a little bit last time about the perceptions of everyday magic and what it really is,
Yep.
everyday magic, and then how some people have a picture of what that looks like. And you mentioned the Halloween witches. And I think about, I guess that could be called Halloween witches too, a group of women around a cauldron chanting into a potion, a smoking potion. We talked about that as well. And I understand that you talk a lot about reframing witchcraft and magic as lived experience, not a belief. And so I wanted to talk more and have you talk more about how would you describe your everyday magic? And then because we were talking about nature as well, how integral is nature worship to that, to your everyday magic? And also because we're talking about grandmothers, your ancestral magic, how does that play into all of that, your everyday magic as well?
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
great question. I'm like, how much time do we have?
We,
Okay,
there's
so
no limit. Just talk.
no,
You
I'm
have the
just kidding.
floor.
I'm like, my favorite topic. No, you know
Yeah.
what's interesting, Lani, is that you know, I think that I'll start with the nature piece, right? Because
Okay.
in our culture or in the society that I'm living in right now, there's for many people there's this idea that nature is this thing that's out there, like you go into nature,
Into
like
it.
you
Yeah.
go for a hike or hug the trees or into the ocean or whatever, and that's amazing, and I wish we all got to do that every day, and that's just a part of it. Like we
Mm-hmm.
are nature, we're a part of nature. It's not like an out there thing.
Yeah.
So all of this cheesy cliches that you hear are cliches for a reason, right? Like
Yeah.
we are all one. Like what we do to nature, we do to ourselves. That's not a metaphor. That's
Right.
literally how
Yeah.
it works, right? And so I
Yeah.
think about nature as a natural environment for sure, like, the beautiful landscapes or even
Yeah.
simply the tree down your street or whatever. But I also think about nature as the nature of reality, right? Like the
Mhm.
nature of things. Like,
Yeah.
how is it that life actually works? And we
Yeah.
know a lot about that. And from a scientific perspective, there's so much emerging knowledge all the time. And I'm always like, breathtaking by how much we continue to learn and explore
Yeah.
in space and the depths of the ocean and new medicines and like, wow, the humans are incredible. We're doing so many great things. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then there are some things that we just don't fully, truly understand yet. And that doesn't mean that they're not real. So, for
Hmm.
example, the nature of consciousness,
Yes.
right? There's like so much exploration that we're still doing around like, what does it mean to be human? Not only from
Hmm.
like an emotional, like values perspective, like what does it mean to me to be human,
Right.
but what does it mean to be human in terms of where does consciousness end and begin? How is it
Yeah.
related to your brain and your mind? Because those are not the same thing, right? And
Yeah.
now with
Yeah.
the emergence of AI, the question becomes super real. It's like, how are these robots not human? Can they
Hmm.
be conscious? I mean, it's like an ongoing exploration,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
so I'm saying all that because some of us have been particularly interested in getting to know ourselves in terms of what does it mean to be human? What are the different levels of consciousness? Do I have access to them? Can I use them to my advantage, if you will?
Yeah.
Like, can I become more present to my own experience so that then I can create it to be whatever I want it to be, rather
Right.
than being sort of like a victim of the circumstances, if you will.
Hmm.
And there's tons of circumstances to be victims of, right? Like the
Yeah.
world is a complete and utter mess. And there's so many things that we have zero control over and that we all are, working on and trying to change. And there's something that's more immediate, that's my own experience and how I
Hmm.
can relate to myself and work with my own energy to have different outcomes.
Yeah.
Lani, I'm so sorry. I went on a soapbox. I'm like, what?
No, no, no.
I
I'm loving
totally lost
all
the
of it. I'm
question.
taking it all in. I think you touched on everything. But I
Oh
do
no,
want.
everyday magic. Thank you. I'm like, what was I just talking about? Okay, no. So my point was, so everyday magic, the way I define magic is the craft of
Hmm.
transforming reality, right?
Hmm.
So if there's something going on that I don't like, I
Yeah.
change it. And if I can't change it, then I work magic to change it because that will work, right?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
basically a way of working with yourself, all aspects of yourself, all levels of your own consciousness,
Hmm.
and your relationship with the natural world, with the different elements, so that you can create something new that you wouldn't have been able to create or transform without
Hmm.
access to this knowledge and practice of balancing out all of these energies, right? And so that
Right.
sounds really complicated, I think, when you don't know how to do it,
Hmm.
but it's like anything. It's like when
Yeah.
you're a little girl and you're learning to read, you're like, and then
Right.
like we don't even think about it, right? And
Yeah.
like riding a bike, it's a skill, right? Like what I really want to um, be super clear on is that sometimes people feel like some special folks have like
Yeah.
a gift and they can do
Right.
magic, which is true. Like some people are born innately more talented than others, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that we can't not all, like we can all do it.
Right.
For some of us, it will be a little bit harder or will require more practice, but magic is a skill that anybody can learn and anybody
Hmm.
can develop.
Yes. Yes. I love that. You mentioned that, like, because it is a thing, especially here, over
Yeah,
here in the West. The whole thing, like going out into nature, like,
yeah,
and I love what you said about incorporating the nature within us.
yeah.
And I was wondering if you could give us like an example of that in your everyday magic. Um, yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, first of all, on like a really basic level, in
Basic,
terms of
yeah.
like how we are connected to nature, like humans to survive need to eat food. Where do you think the food is coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
quite literally the
Yes.
earth. And if
Right.
the earth is sick and the soil is not fertile enough and the crops are not growing, we're going to be hungry. Or if it's raining too much and everything floods, we're going to be hungry. Or if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't rain enough and there is a drought, well, you know what I mean? Like it's a
Right,
very
right. I
direct
get it.
impact. We don't think about it so much in this day
Yeah.
and age because our experience is like we go to a supermarket with our little card, and then we get whatever we need. But it's so there's like a buffer between us and the reality of how intricately related to nature we are, but that
Yes,
doesn't change that reality.
it
And
doesn't.
so I start with that because it's really basic. Like if you think
Hmm.
about people throughout the world, anywhere on the planet, generations back pre-industrialization, we were all way more in tune with where the food was going to come from, where the clean water was, where were the
Yeah.
animals that were going to try to eat us, like all of those things,
All
right?
of those things.
And so these days we don't have to worry about that kind of thing anymore, but the parts of us that are wired biologically as animals
Hmm.
respond in certain ways haven't fully changed, right? And
Yes.
so, for example, you think a lot about I don't know if you've heard, this is a very popular thing right now in terms of like people talk about their like flight or fight response, right? Or
Hmm.
freeze or fawn, and
Yeah.
it's like we were wired so that a tiger is chasing us and like we run, and now there's no tiger chasing us. It's an email that comes through and we have the same response,
Exactly. Yeah.
but then we don't get to run it
We
off.
don't run it
So
out. Yeah.
chemically, we are having the same response, but without the same uh, context so that we can work through it and we get
Hmm.
stuck in a lot of
Yes.
emotions that we would have worked through very quickly in the past,
Yes.
right? And so that's just
Right.
one example in terms of how does this relate to everyday magic. If part of my practice is being aware of those
Hmm.
basic truths about being human, I'm going to have so many more tools and way of being that
Yes.
make my life so much better and more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Instead of
True.
sitting at my desk, freaking out about the email, like working myself up into a, frenzy, I'm
Yes.
going to know that, okay, this is worrying me because mentally I need to reply, blah, blah, blah. I need to think it through. Like I think about the aspects of myself, right? Like
Hmm.
physically, all the hormones are rushing through. Maybe this is a good time to go for a walk before hitting reply, right?
Yes.
And so it
Yes.
doesn't have to be magic like stirring the cauldron, although
Right.
if
Right.
you've never done that with a group of women, do it because it's very special. However, it's literally just facing the reality of who we are as
Mhm.
human and working with it instead of against it so that we can have better lives. I mean, it sounds so dumb when I say it out loud, but it's that straightforward, right?
No, I love the simplicity of it because how many times have you heard it's this, and you're like, what? So to hear something that makes sense and it's simple, I like that. And it makes a lot of sense because you can apply that and compare that to a lot of mundane things. And so that makes it a little bit more reachable, attainable, the understanding of it. So, no, I'm all
Yeah.
good with that. I love that.
And then I think the other thing about the everyday magic for me, there's like two things, right? Like I
Mhm.
personally have the experience of life being so magical
Yeah.
because people drop dead every moment of the day for no good reason.
Yes.
And so the fact that we get to be here alone is kind of miraculous. And also, we don't know how long we're going to be
We
here. And
don't. Yeah.
also, we don't even understand how we got here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we have some science, the sperm, the egg, whatever. But if you really think about it, I mean, the fact that women can make humans in their
Yeah.
bellies,
Yes.
if you just think about it, it sounds so sci-fi.
Yeah,
It's
it does.
crazy.
Out of this world.
So that to me, like the sheer existence of life in human form is so magical. And so trying to stay connected to that sense of awe and gratitude is a huge piece of it. Like if you
Yeah.
remember that once a day alone, your life is going to get exponentially better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other part is that in terms of everyday magic, it's like if something is not quite right, when you know how to work magic, you know how to understand why it is the way it is, and
Hmm.
whether or not there's something to be done about it. And if you
Yeah.
can, then you have the tools to do it. And so it's incredibly empowering to know that, yeah, I can basically do whatever the hell I want. And the last thing I'll say about that is like with a big caveat. I've seen, particularly in the online space, but just like in general. There's been, especially over the last decade, 15 years, this whole sort of movement of spiritual growth or personal development that's all about like manifestation and thinking positive, and like
Mm-hmm.
you can get whatever you want if you just like make your vision board. I have a huge issue with that. It's incredibly dangerous
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't include the context. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that just crossed the river to become a refugee because they're escaping war is probably not gonna be manifesting their mansion on a vision board, and
Yeah.
not because they're not doing it right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
have a real I guess I say it because like while I 100% know that we can create incredible things and we all have the power to do that, it doesn't mean that we're immune from the context that we're living in. And when people say like, well, if it hasn't worked out for you, it's because like whatever, you're not evolved enough or you're not trying hard enough or you don't have the whatever enough. I'm like, that is rude, dangerous, and also false.
Yeah.
And I think that's why magic gets a bad reputation, right? Because it's
Mhm.
misused and sort of marketed in a weird way. And
Yeah. Yeah.
my magic is super grounded on planet Earth and real life. And we're not going to bypass the injustice, the racism, the abuse, the oppression, capitalism. All of that needs to be part of it because it's part of the world. It's
Yeah.
also part of the nature of our current reality.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. And
mean?
all of those things need to be helped. So we need the magic for those things. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I really like what you said about finding out why things are the way that they are and then working with it instead of working against the grain. I
Yeah.
really like that. And while we're talking about the different perceptions about magic and some of the negative connotations, I wanted to ask you, it's so funny that you went there. um, why do you think that people are more comfortable talking about manifestation than magic? Because like you said, there's all of this out here about manifestation, do this, vision board this, you can have what you want. But then when you if the conversation turns or tilts a little bit and talks about magic, sometimes the reaction is not the same. There's a lot of negativity around magic. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned Catholicism. I was raised in a church
Uh-huh.
as well. And so I know like the manifestation thing in church, it's like, yes, even talking about miracles from the Bible, that's something that is supported. But then when you start talking about magic in terms of yourself, things that you can do for yourself every day, practical, it's like, oh, what are you talking about? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, of course. I mean, again, back to my point, I don't think that we can have a true full picture of our lives and our
Yeah.
realities without actually facing everything that is. So I
Yeah.
think like what's the difference between manifestation and magic? Manifestation gets kind of like whitewashed so that it can have a scientific explanation because neuroscience says that when you imagine in your brain, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
nobody has enough data about how spirit works yet to be able
Yeah.
to acknowledge that there's a piece that we don't understand. I think that that's part of it.
Yeah.
I also think that part of it, it's maybe more palatable because um, internally, just by sheer virtue of living in our society, we have ingrained beliefs and thoughts that don't necessarily serve us but are really valid. So, for example, if you can, again, have like some sort of science behind
Yeah.
meditation, like I remember when meditation was like woo woo weird out there, and now it's totally mainstream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why did it become mainstream? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
because some white boys started adopting it and they realized that it had really good results. And then they run their tests and studies and they gave the stamp of approval to it. And I'm like, I have a big fat FU to that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
basically total appropriation, and the tools are for everybody. It's not about that, but it's about the fact that, oh, when I use them, it's
Yeah.
like woo nonsense, but when you
Yeah.
use them, you can build an empire repackaging and reselling it. I think the reason people are scared of magic is because if we all knew how to work magic, the entire neoliberal capitalist heteronormative racist system would collapse.
Yeah.
And that's no joke. Like the three
Hmm.
billionaire boys that are running the show would lose all of their monopoly and control over everything. And so, not to get political, but
Yeah.
this is why I think witches have been demonized, and it's hilarious because we don't even believe in demons. Like, we know that there's evil in the world. We can be super evil as humans. We can be incredibly compassionate and loving as humans. All of that is true. But I think that witches have been made to be scary because what would happen if all the women, and like even the men, but usually
Hmm.
like the misogyny, right? If all the women
Yep.
actually knew that they don't need to buy anything else to be fine with what they are, that they're 100% entitled to having food and shelter and education and what the rest of the world calls human rights. Like the everything that is abusive and oppressive and not working for the vast majority of the population right now would collapse.
Yes.
We are
Yes.
it up by staying in this illusion of fear and separation, right? And
Yes.
so, thanks for coming to
Yes.
my TED Talk. That's
No,
what I
no, I
think
agree.
about
I'm
all
totally,
that.
I'm like, yes, yes, amen, amen. No, because I do believe that. And I do believe that that is why people in our society are taught to separate themselves from their own connection to their spirit, because of those things, because of all the benefits, because of all the miraculous things that would happen when you allow yourself to connect. So they build this whole monster thing, about connecting to your own spirituality. And so makes people shun that, and they don't want that because they think that it's scary or it's going to do all these things. That's where you need to be. And that's why they don't want you to be there. So I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. Totally. Um, and I totally agree with the whole like, oh, because this person stamps the approval and says that it works, that everybody should use it now. We've been doing this, and it's been working for us. You're just figuring that out. So I totally agree with that. Um, and I think that that is even more of a reason why we have to continue doing things like this podcast, getting information out, sharing with people what is actually out there, what people are actually doing, what you can actually do. And it's so empowering. Like, why would you not want that? If you think about it, like you said, if you break down and really look at the elements that are involved, you know, it's a
Mhm.
benefit to you. And then you start thinking, well, why are you keeping this from me? Yeah, dig deeper. So I totally agree with that. Along those lines, I wanted to know and pick your brain about that real connectivity to spirit, what it looks like when it's stripped from all the things that we're talking about, the external rules and the performance. I think you said the bullshit and the trauma, right, of being mishandled and things like that. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that we come into this world totally connected to spirit, and
Hmm.
then it gets sort of like sucked out of us by society if we happen
Yeah.
to live in that kind of society.
Yeah.
And I think that one really good way to think about like what would connection to spirit actually look like is just to look at children, right? Children
Such a good point.
are
Yeah.
not afraid of anything in the sense that um, you know how we talk about sometimes grown-ups have a hard time connecting to their feelings or
Hmm.
expressing their feelings. You can see a kid wail like a banshee for a solid
Yes.
5 minutes, be done, wipe their tears off, and go off on their merry way, no big deal, because they're like
None.
totally in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
Be expressing what they want or how they're feeling, and then moving on to the next thing. And of course, as grown-ups, like if I'm having a moment like in the middle of, I don't know, a work meeting, that's probably not the time and place to start wailing, but there is a way to express that sooner rather than later and not totally bottle it down and repress it, right? And that's
Hmm.
from an emotional perspective. I think that from a physical perspective, like what are we actually meant to be doing? And I think that I most of the time sit all day because I work at a desk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really need to make an effort to remember that as a human animal, I need to move because otherwise I get sick, and we've
Yeah.
got so much and be outdoors. Like when I teach people to work magic, literally the first assignment is move outside. Doesn't have to be a workout. I just mean like go for a walk, stretch, like do a couple of
Hmm.
like, that's it, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
move and sit in silence because and then from like the mental perspective we're always getting bombarded with so much information and then like the screens and people doom scrolling and it's like what is it that I believe I'm meant here to be, do, experience, have?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the first question I think that we can ask ourselves in terms of reconnecting spiritually, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Um, I think children, that was great. That's a great point because they do. They get over things so quickly. On to the next, and everything is so exciting. Yeah, and I think we lose that too. Um, Everything is a wonder, and I think that vibration around when you're doing things, it adds magic to things. Um, so I'm always saying we have to get back to that. And I'm always thinking back to my childhood about things that I lost. Like, what happened? I used to do that. How can I get that back? Because that's our magic, and we are connected to it when we come into this world. Unfortunately, society rips it from us every chance they get. So adulthood is trying to get back. So I think it's funny how you're trying to grow up when you're a child, and then when you're an adult, you're trying to go back. So I think that that's funny. But I love that what you said about looking to children for that present moment ability. And I think also nature and animals are also a great teacher because animals will just do what they need to do. They will they don't have all the emotionality that we have and get caught up. They just do. I need to stay here and eat this grass to help my stomach. Then I'm going to do that. So they're also great teachers. But I love we're on one accord. We are so aligned in that because I definitely agree in that. Getting back to the no BS. How it's intended for us to be connected. So
Totally.
I really like that.
And then
Um,
the other thing too is that it's a practice and it's a choice, right? Like
it is.
I was speaking with somebody the other day and she was telling me that the idea of taking 5 minutes to be by yourself
Mm,
and hear yourself think
yes.
alone is revolutionary because
It
most
is so. It's
don't do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do I know that I'm doing well? How do I know what I want? How do I know if I'm pissed off about something? How do I know anything about myself if I'm not actually aware, if I'm
aware.
attention, and if I'm not in relationship with myself? And
Yeah,
it sounds kind of dumb, but if you think about it, it's totally possible to go through life.
and not be.
Exactly. Like if
Yeah.
you live in the US in 2026, chances are everything around you is designed for you to never have to be with yourself truly.
Yes. Truly.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so
Yes.
many of us get on this trap that because we've never done it, we're becoming less and less likely to ever do it because we're more and more scared of what we might find or like things that I should have really cleaned up 15 years ago, but because I didn't, it's now this big pile of crap.
And I'm terrified. I don't want to go near it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that again, spirituality is so interesting because it is about emotions and it is about thoughts and it is about the body. and it also is about something else. And that something else is as important as the other pieces. And at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, it ties it all together. And we can get very metaphysical about it. But at the end of the day, I feel like spiritual practices tend to be practices and their experiences. Like we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but until I set the intention to connect to spirit, whatever that means, and spoiler alert, 99% of us have no idea what that means and never will be
Mm-hmm.
able to define it fully,
Yeah.
then it's all like it doesn't matter because it's something that we need to experience, you know?
Right. Yeah, I agree. One thing, because when you were talking about connecting with yourself for 5 minutes, how that was revolutionary, I'm like, yeah. And I was thinking about that one the other day, and I was also thinking about how we're not really in the practice of like sitting with ourselves and thinking back about what we've accomplished. And I'm saying that personally because we're so like do. We don't take the time to just sit back and say, okay, this project finished and I was happy with it. It was successful. It did this. Um, Areas of opportunity, this. But you know what? I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of us if you're working in a team. I don't think we spend enough time doing that. And I really feel like that adds to your magic every day too, when you're able to reflect back on something that you did, give yourself a pat on the back instead of just staying in this perpetual go motion, you know? So it's the same type of energy as that, connecting with yourself to see how am I feeling? How do I really feel in this moment, in my body? Am I stressed out? Am I happy? Like, do I know what that feels like? Kind of thing. So yeah, it's all good stuff. Okay, so going down the line of what we're saying, how would you help people rebuild their trust in their own power? Because we're talking about how they're kind of scared of it sometimes. And we talked about how the world builds this whole like thing and trying to keep us separated. So
Mhm.
how do you help people to kind of tackle that, like being intimidated and, and really just being inspired to go and head on and connect with yourself?
Yeah, what a great question. I mean,
Yeah,
there's 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the sky, as they say. But
yeah.
I think that one thing is that if you are feeling some sort of calling to live differently or to explore what's going on inside of you, chances are it's for a reason,
Hmm.
right? And if you're not doing it, it's because also for a reason. But I think
Yeah,
that for those of us that can be very afraid of what we'll find, or maybe
yeah.
I won't know how to deal with it, I always tell folks, let's name that, say that's we perceive that as a conflict, right?
Hmm.
There's no such thing as conflict avoidance. There's only conflict postponement, right? In other
Right.
words, when there's a mess that needs to get cleaned up, and it's like, think about this. You throw a dinner
Yeah,
party, you have a blast, you're meant to do the dishes. Oh no, I'm too tired. I'll do them in the morning. Guess what? In the morning, the dishes will still be there and they'll
yeah,
be harder to do because they will be all dry and crusty and it's going to
yeah,
be just scrubbing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so I think the same is about like if you're curious about starting a spiritual practice, about really deeply connecting with yourself and being in relationship with yourself,
hmm,
start with small steps, right? Don't go from
yeah,
feeling like a hamster on a wheel to going to a 10-day silent retreat because it will probably shock your system. But maybe start by like sitting by yourself
hmm,
for 5 minutes a day and
yeah,
see what happens and see what emerges, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
maybe, like you were saying, journal a little bit about how am I feeling? Did that go
right,
well? Like just reflection about how are things going for me? How do I feel I'm doing? Or maybe give yourself a break and like do get out in nature and like move,
yeah,
Or were you really interested in singing as a child? Like sing. You don't have to join a chorus. You can just like sing, right?
hmm,
Like any little thing that breaks you out of the current routine so that you can slowly start building new
hmm,
practices and experiences
yeah,
that allow you to connect with yourself. And then you'll be floored how life is gonna conspire to bring magic to you.
yeah,
You're gonna
yeah,
be having all these coincidences and synchronicities that are going to lead you to the next step. So it's
Yeah.
like just like a tiny little taste of something different is going to start snowballing in a really
Yeah.
positive way.
Yeah. I love the way that you're talking about it like it's incremental. So it's
Yeah.
almost like you're changing your palate, little bit by little bit, you're introducing these different flavors little bit by little bit so that eventually you'll want that. You already know what it tastes like and you want it based on that. So yeah, that's delicious. I love that. 5 minutes. You can build on that. What's 5 minutes? That's no time at all. So yeah, it makes it very attainable. So it's not like a big boogie monster.
That's
Yeah,
right. If I'm like, well, you're going to start by getting up at 5 a.m. and meditating for 30 minutes before you start your day, like I already don't want to do that.
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, what? No, that's so overwhelming.
Right, it
But
is. It
but it's
is.
like, yeah, I love what you said. It's like if you try it and it's working for you, then you can do more of it. Like you don't have to
Exactly.
marry it right away, but you find that
Exactly.
you really feel pulled towards it over time because it's so transformative to have a different, more spacious, grounded way to live.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. Um, and we're talking about practices and stuff like that. And I know that you are a Reiki master.
Right.
And I always love to hear about people's Reiki stories. So I'd love to hear about how you got into Reiki, how you were introduced, but also how you supplementally use Reiki in your practice with other modalities that you may also use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I cannot believe it's been this long.
Mhm.
I came across and started doing Reiki last millennium in the 1900s.
You make it seem like it's so far away.
Well, it sounds so funny though,
It
right? No,
is, but
it's
it's
probably, I don't know, maybe like 1998 or 99. And I
okay.
had a meditation teacher, Diane Hecht, and yeah, I was just starting to meditate more formally.
Hmm.
And I can't remember now how it came up, but it came up that she did Reiki. And I was like, what? Tell me all about it. And then I had a Reiki session with her. She gave me Reiki, and I was like, what? This is incredible. Yes, more, please. And so I did the work with her and became attuned then to do Reiki, and I've been doing Reiki ever since. And um, Reiki is really interesting for me because I think that energy work is energy work is energy work
Hmm.
throughout the world.
Yes.
And this particular modality of energy work is from a Japanese lineage that was started by somebody named Dr. Usui. And I got attuned and received the ability to have this practice. And I've also realized that it's a very, I'm going to call it a very sort of specific frequency because
Yes.
energy work from different parts of the world and from different traditions come with their own special flavor. And so
Hmm.
some practices are better for some situations than others. I find that Reiki is in general incredibly soothing.
Yeah.
So in my experience, it works best when there's somebody that's like quite agitated or
Hmm.
inflamed or angry, or somehow their energy is feeling expansive, not in a
Yeah.
good way,
Hmm.
to sort of like ground it and soothe
Yes.
it and like reconnect it to the earth. And that served me so well for the last, God, I don't know, 30 years or so,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah. I like the way you said every modality has a flavor. Yes. And it
Hmm.
is it is so very grounding. And one of the things that I love too about Reiki is like that you're gonna get it. You are gonna get it as the transmitter. You're getting
Yeah.
it. So you're getting the grounding and you're getting, everything that the recipient is getting as well, because it has to come through you too. And I started off myself thinking that it was external, like, oh, is this what I'm going to give to other people? But it is such an incredible gift for self and
Yeah.
still is. I just love it. So yeah, I love it. I agree with what you say. And it's such a great supplemental modality to add to other things. And you made a great point. Like if you're working with a person or a situation that is expansive, not in a good way,
Right, right, right,
Reiki
right.
helps you balance and align those things. So it's a beautiful modality. I love it too. Just love it, love it, love it. So wanting to know about liberation magic method. I want to know about it, but also wanted to know how the idea came to you, how you got there. So if you could tell us a little bit about that. I'm so intrigued.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look, Liberation Magic came about because, like I mentioned, when I moved to the US, it became obvious to me very quickly that most people don't work magic.
Hmm.
And I mean, to be fair, most people in Chile also don't work magic, but they're not surprised by it
Okay.
or
Okay.
like
Yeah.
so confused by it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's like I don't know. At least my experience was I feel
Yeah.
like there's definitely more acceptance for it. And anyway, so over time, as I just lived my life and had friends and life went on, people would always come to me and be like, how do you do it? Like there's something about you. And I'm like, it's not me, it's magic. And they
Yeah.
were like, what? And so this happened repeatedly. And so throughout, I don't know, the last, I'm going to say 15 years, I started organizing little workshops here and there and
Hmm.
classes to sort of give people an introduction to the idea that magic is real. It's a skill. They
Yeah.
can learn it. You can learn how to do it. Let's talk about energy. Let's talk about power. Let's talk about how to work with these things. And then what actually happened was that I have a friend who was in charge of programs at a retreat center, and she invited me to teach a
Oh, nice.
workshop for a weekend on magic.
Hmm.
Invited me, Lani, to go in June of 2020. So,
Wow.
needless to say, I
Hmm.
couldn't go because it was the middle of the pandemic, but I was ready because I was like, okay, yeah, let's do
Yeah.
this. And then I'm like, well, I'm just gonna do it anyway. And so I started
Right.
doing it online. And so basically, what the Liberation Magic program is about is I was never given anything written about magic. Like
Hmm.
my entire spiritual experience has been very hands-on, very lived
Yeah.
experience, very what I was told by my family, and quite informal in that way. And then I realized quite quickly that that way of learning doesn't work very well for most of my friends here in the US.
Hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
the first time I taught Liberation Magic, somebody was like, it would be so helpful if we had a syllabus. And I'm like, what?
What?
And I'm like, wow, what a great piece of feedback. Like, it literally would have never occurred to me that that was necessary. So I made the freaking
Yeah.
syllabus because I was like, okay, I'll meet you where you're at, whatever you
Yeah.
want. And so now I have a more formalized approach
Hmm.
where I have lessons, like people know what they're going to learn. So I basically codified, documented all of my wisdom, all of
Hmm.
my magical knowings and practices so that other people that didn't grow up with it could learn
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Um,
I organize all of the concepts that you need to learn and all of
yeah.
the skills that you need to practice and develop and all of the different tools that we use. And yeah, and so then
Yeah.
people are more able to work their own
Right.
magic.
Yeah. That was a blessing that you did that because some oral traditions, and I'm assuming that, you know, you come from an oral tradition, like, um, you still can't. So like, Diddy, you want it written down, you better write it yourself. And I think that there's a magic in that as well. And then I think I was reading something about when they first started teaching Reiki, the symbols and things were not written down. They weren't drawn like that. You get one time and you're supposed to remember it, and so practices have changed. They've evolved, I guess. But I do feel like there is a certain frequency, a vibration um, of magic with oral traditions like that. And so, and this is just my personal experience, or my preference is that we keep as much as that, as much of that as we can in our traditions, because if we don't, then we're going to lose some of it. I don't know. That's just my feel on it.
Oh, totally. You know what's
Yeah.
so funny? So I've been teaching this online. It's a
Yeah.
13-week program that's an introduction. And we meet and have live conversations,
Yeah.
Q&A, coaching, ritual practice, all of the things. And so I was talking to a friend about feeling like I don't know that I would want to, oh, because from like a quote business perspective,
Hmm.
like, well, why don't you do a self-study? And I'm like, I don't want to give people this content and not guide them.
Exactly.
And
That's
then I thought,
responsible. Yeah.
correct, right? Like, I don't want to be
Hmm.
responsible in that way. But then I thought to myself, but would I write a book about this?
Mm.
Because I'm like, I would totally, I mean, all of my students are like, you have the book already written. It's all the
Pretty much.
curriculum,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, so it's something that I sit with because I think, and I think it's like anything, right? Like any practice or religion or field of study, I can get a book on physics and read
Yeah.
it and learn on my own all I want. But if I have a teacher, it's gonna be different. And
Exactly.
so I think that, and I haven't made a decision yet. Like it's
Yeah.
not that I'm against having the knowledge available in a book form, but I
Hmm.
think that if I do decide to do that, I will always know that the people who just read the book had a very different experience
Yeah.
than the people that also participated in a sort of communal way of.
Yes.
And I'm
Community.
not saying that it's worse necessarily. For some people, it might work better for whatever
Better. Hmm.
reason. They can be with, right? Like there's so many different situations,
Yeah.
but it is different.
It is
And
different.
so it's, yeah, it's important to think that through as well.
Yeah. And I think, and this is again my personal,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the fact that you are contemplating it so heavily. That shows, one, your accountability and your responsibility to the craft, and that you care about the
Right.
legacy. So that is just, I got chill bumps. I think that a lot of people miss miss that. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very refreshing to know
Oh,
that you did not miss it. You are right on
well,
it. I love
Lani,
that.
but you know what? I mean, for me, it was like the first time I taught this was on Zoom, you
Yeah,
know? And
yeah.
I first I thought like, fuck, man, is my grandma like freaking calling me from the
Right.
grave? And then I remember I moved to the US in 1993, and my grandma and I would write letters to each other. And she has like this incredible handwriting that's like totally calligraphic. And I found a letter of, and I saved all the letters and I still have them. And I found one and I took a picture of it and I sent it to my brother because it said, and this is before even Zoom. I was telling my brother, it's like, hey, Nora invented Skype. Check this out. And the letter said, I wish there was a TV where I could see you and we could just talk like it's the phone, but on like the TV.
Wow, she's on board with it.
And I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I think she would be like, girl, use
You
all the
did it.
freaking
Yeah.
technology. Like, just go for it. You know what I
Go
mean?
for it.
And I
Yeah.
was like, then when I'm talking with my brother, I was like, our grandma like had a vision of Skype before it, because at that time we were using Skype, right? It was pre-Zoom.
Yeah.
So that's how old this is. Like nobody
Yeah.
even remembers Skype now. And he was like, wow, that's so sweet. Like
It
it's so
is. It
incredible.
is.
Oh,
And I think that is so sweet that you have the letters to share like that. What a gift that is.
I
That is so
know.
sweet. Oh
I
my
know.
God. Oh
But
my
my
God.
point is that I do think about these things quite a bit because I
Yeah.
think that there's like this very fine balance between
Hmm.
throwing the baby out with the
With the
bathwater, like
bathwater.
not
Yeah.
wanting to use technology or different modalities, and then making it harder for people to access, versus totally degrading the sacredness of the practice.
Hmm.
And I think that, I mean, I hope I'm finding that sort of middle ground, and
Yeah.
we'll never know, but I'm definitely doing my best and I have the intention, you know?
Yeah. And your grandmother is helping you along the way too. So, she's
That's
not going to
right.
let you go too far straight. She'll pull you.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, we can find out more about your Bruja School and information as far as your services that you provide and your coursework and dates of upcoming things on your website, right?
Yes,
Okay.
please. That's exactly right.
So we're going to list all of your information in the description of the video so
Great.
that everyone will have that. Now, is there anything else? Because I know I have picked your brain today. Is there anything, do you have any closing thoughts or anything that you may want to add?
No, I mean, I just
No?
wanted to mention, given that we're talking about this technology piece and how to like combine ancient
Yeah.
knowledge with like new ways of being, I am so glad that we met. Like, if it
Oh,
wasn't for the interwebs, we would have
yes.
crossed paths. And so I think that, yes, it's probably going to be the end of us all. And also, it can be used in such positive ways. And so I'm just super grateful that we got to meet and have this
Yes.
conversation and be connected in this way. So I really
Yes.
appreciate you.
Yes, I'm so grateful too to have met you through technology. But I think that the balance that we're talking about, I think will come or we can get that as long as we stay in touch with the ancestors and the
Correct.
divine, which I believe you're doing. So, and they're going to lead us, you know, but I do feel like you that this is a part of the road that we're supposed to go. We're supposed to go down this technology road, but it's supposed to be balanced and
Correct.
in such a way that we can preserve and respect the sacredness of our
Yes.
practices as well. Yeah. So everything like that led up to us meeting has just been so beautiful. And then when we met, I had like an animal intervention symbol thing. So I was like, this is it's so kismet, you know, for me. So
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful to have met you. This is not our last connection, girl. So
Okay. Thank you.
thank you so much for coming on with us today and sharing about your beautiful life and your beautiful practice in your school. I'm so enchanted and grateful that we do have schools and places where we can go and learn about these ancient arts. It's so important, so important. So thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You too,
And I
you
would
too.
like
Thank you so
to
much.
and I'd like to thank our audience for tuning in today for Reiki Rocks and Reflections and sharing our special guest Maritza Shafer. Please check out her website, check out her Bruja School, and any of the coursework and services that she offers. She's spectacular. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, we're going to list all of her information so you have access to that. So thank you for joining us today for Reiki Rocks and Reflections with Maritza Shafer. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and to subscribe to Awakening Airwaves. We are also on the Apple Podcast. You can find us on Spotify and iHeartRadio. So check us out. We'll see you next time with more Reiki, more crystals, and more ways to heal ourselves. I'm Lani Woo. We'll see you next time. Peace.